The transport ship touched down on Kepler 442c just after sunrise. Dr. Juan pressed her face against the small window and watched the strange landscape come into view. Everything looked wrong. The plants, if you could call them plants, grew in twisted spirals from the ground. They sparkled like broken glass in the morning light. The rocks were the color of rust. The sky was a pale green instead of blue. Juan had read all the reports during the 3-month journey. Every survey said the same thing. Nothing edible grows here. The native life uses completely different chemistry. Humans cannot eat anything on this planet. The colony survives only because supply ships arrive every 2 months with food from other worlds. She grabbed her equipment bag and stepped out onto the landing pad. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet she could not name. The gravity felt lighter than Earth, making each step feel like a small bounce. A man waited for her at the edge of the pad. He was tall and thin, with gray in his hair and tired eyes. He wore the plain uniform of a colonial administrator. "Dr. Juan," he said, "I am Tay. Welcome to Kepler 442c, though I am not sure why you wanted to come here." "I study alien ecosystems," Juan said. "Your planet has one of the most unusual in human space." Tay made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Unusual is one word for it. Dead is another. Come on. I will show you to your quarters." The colony was small. Only 3,000 people lived here mining rare minerals from the mountains. The buildings were prefabricated domes connected by covered walkways. Everything looked functional and temporary, like nobody expected to stay forever. Juan spent her first 3 days setting up her lab and reading more reports. The colonists had tried eating local life when they first arrived 50 years ago. Some people got sick. Others had bad reactions. After a few deaths, everyone stopped trying. Now they just waited for the supply ships and paid enormous prices for basic food. On her 4th day, Juan went outside the colony walls for the first time. She wanted to see the ecosystem with her own eyes, not through reports and data. The crystalline plants covered the ground everywhere. Up close, they looked even stranger. The stalks were translucent with veins of dark purple running through them. The leaves, if they were leaves, curved in impossible angles. When Juan touched one carefully, it felt hard and smooth like ceramic. She knelt down and took samples. Her portable scanner showed complex organic chemistry. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, the same elements that made up Earth life. But they were arranged differently, in patterns she had never seen before. Then Juan saw movement. A small animal, about the size of a rabbit, hopped between the crystal plants. It had 6 legs and skin that shimmered like oil on water. She watched as it stopped next to one of the plants and began to eat. The animal bit into the hard crystal stalk. Its teeth seemed to crack through the outer layer easily. It chewed and swallowed. Then it moved to another plant and ate again. Juan felt her heart beat faster. This was important. This changed everything. If the local animals could eat the plants, then the plants were not toxic. The chemistry might be different, but it was still food. Real food. She spent the rest of the day collecting more samples. She found 3 more types of animals, all eating the crystal plants. She also found fungi growing under rocks, and something like moss covering the shaded sides of boulders. Back in her lab, Juan worked through the night. She ran every test she knew. She broke down the crystal plants into their basic components. She analyzed their proteins and carbohydrates. She compared them to Earth food. The results shocked her. The crystal coating was mostly silicon, yes, but underneath was a perfectly good plant. It had proteins humans could digest. It had carbohydrates for energy. It even had amino acids and vitamins. The silicon coating was just protection from the planet's strong sunlight. Once you removed it, what remained was edible. Juan knew what she had to do next. It went against all safety protocols. Her training said never taste unknown substances, but sometimes you had to break the rules to find the truth. She took a small piece of the plant. She boiled it to remove the silicon coating. She processed it further, breaking down any complex compounds. What remained was a pale, soft substance about the size of her thumb. Juan put it in her mouth and chewed. The texture was odd, sort of rubbery. The taste was bland, almost like plain tofu. But it was not bad. More importantly, she did not die. She did not even feel sick. She waited 6 hours, monitoring her vital signs. Nothing happened. No nausea, no pain, no allergic reaction. Her body processed the food normally. The next morning, Juan went to find Tai. He was in his office looking at supply reports and frowning. "I need to talk to you," Juan said. "I think I found something important." Tay looked up. "What kind of something?" "Food," Juan said. "Real food. Growing right outside your walls." Tay stared at her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he shook his head. "That is impossible," he said. "People tried eating the local plants 50 years ago. They got sick. Some died. They did not prepare it correctly," Juan said. She pulled out her data tablet and showed him her test results. "Look, the plants have a silicon coating that needs to be removed. If you eat them raw, yes, you will get sick. But if you process them properly, they are perfectly safe." Tay looked at the data. His frown deepened. "You tested this how?" he asked. "I ate some," Juan admitted. "You ate it." Tay stood up. "You have been here 4 days and you are already eating unknown alien plants?" "I ran extensive tests first," Juan said. "And I am fine. More than fine. This could change everything for your colony. You would not need to buy food from supply ships anymore. You could grow your own." Tay sat down again. He rubbed his face with both hands. "Even if what you say is true," he said slowly, "one edible plant does not solve our problems. We need diverse nutrition. Proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. Can your crystal plants provide all that?" "I do not know yet," Juan said. "But I only looked at one species. There are hundreds of different plants and animals out there. Give me time to study them. I think we will find everything you need." Tay was quiet for a long time. Finally he nodded. "All right," he said. "I will give you 3 months. But you need to be careful. If you die eating alien plants, it will cause me a lot of paperwork." Juan smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since arriving on this strange, beautiful planet. "I will be careful," she promised. "But I am going to prove everyone wrong about this world. There is food here. Lots of it. We just need to learn how to find it." Juan needed a guide. The wilderness beyond the colony walls was dangerous. Strange animals lived there, and the terrain was rough. She asked around, and everyone told her the same name. Kang. She found him at the edge of the colony, checking traps. He was an old man, maybe 60, with weathered skin and sharp eyes. He moved like someone who knew how to survive in hard places. "You the scientist looking for food?" Kang asked before Juan could introduce herself. "Word travels fast," Juan said. "Small colony." Kang pulled a dead animal from one of his traps. It looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard. "You want me to take you into the wild lands?" "Yes. I need to study more species. Find out what is safe to eat." Kang studied her for a long moment. "I tried eating local food when I first came here, 30 years ago. Made me sick for a week. Nearly died." "Because you ate it raw," Juan said. "I know how to prepare it safely." "Maybe you do. Maybe you do not." Kang threw the dead animal into a bag. "But I'm too old to die from stubbornness. I will take you. We leave at dawn." They traveled for 3 weeks. Kang showed Juan places no colonist had visited in years. Deep valleys where strange fungi grew in the darkness. High plateaus where the crystal plants grew as tall as trees. Underground caves filled with pools of clear water and creatures that glowed in the dark. Juan collected samples of everything. She tested each one carefully. Some were toxic even after processing. Others had nutritional value but tasted horrible. But many, more than she expected, were perfectly good food. She found a type of underground fungus that tasted like mushrooms, a grass-like plant with seeds full of protein, berry-like fruits that grew on vines in the valleys, even the large grazing. Animals that lived in the plains were edible, their meat similar to earth cattle. By the end of the first month, Juan had cataloged 15 edible species. By the end of the second month, 23. Each one she documented carefully. She recorded where it grew, how to identify it, how to harvest it safely, and most importantly, how to prepare it to remove any toxins. Kang watched her work with growing interest. One evening, as they sat by their campfire, he asked to see her notes. "This is real?" he said, scrolling through her tablet. "All these plants are safe?" "If prepared correctly, yes," Juan said. She was cooking some of the protein seeds over the fire. They smelled good, nutty and rich. Kang shook his head slowly. 50 years. We have been here 50 years, paying fortune for food from other worlds, and it was here all along. Not your fault, Juan said. The early colonists did not have the right tools to test properly, and once people decided the planet was dead, nobody questioned it. When they returned to the colony, Juan had samples of 23 edible species. She also had detailed notes on preparation methods. But she knew having the information was not enough. She needed to show people that the food was not just safe but good. That was when she met Gina. Gina worked in the colony kitchen, preparing meals from the imported food. She was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes and quick hands. When Juan explained her research, Gina lit up with excitement. "You are saying I can cook with these?" Gina picked up one of the protein seeds. "Really cook, not just heat up pre-made meals?" "That is exactly what I'm saying," Juan said. "But we need to figure out the best way to prepare each one. Make them taste good, not just edible." "I can do that," Gina said. She was already examining the samples, sniffing them, touching them. "I have been cooking pre-packaged garbage for 5 years. This is real ingredients, real food." They worked together in Juan's lab, which slowly became more kitchen than laboratory. Gina experimented with different cooking methods: roasting, boiling, fermenting, smoking. She combined flavors, testing what worked and what did not. Some attempts failed badly. The first time Gina tried cooking the crystal plant stalks, they turned into a sticky, inedible paste. But she tried again with different temperatures and timing. On the third attempt, she created something that tasted like a cross between asparagus and water chestnuts. Crunchy, slightly sweet, delicious. The underground fungi, when dried and ground into powder, made excellent flour for bread. The berry-like fruits were tart but good when cooked into jam. The grazing animal meat was tough but became tender when slow cooked with the right herbs. Word spread through the colony. People heard that Juan and Gina were making real food from local plants. Some were skeptical, others were curious. A few were desperate, tired of eating the same bland imported meals. Gina organized a tasting event. She cooked a full meal using only native ingredients: roasted meat with crystal plant stalks, bread made from fungus flour, a salad of various edible leaves, berry jam for dessert. 50 colonists showed up, more curious than believing. They took small, cautious bites, then bigger ones, then they went back for seconds. "This is actually good," one woman said, surprise clear in her voice. "Better than the imported stuff," her husband agreed. "Fresher." Tay attended the tasting. He ate slowly, carefully, analyzing each bite. When he finished, he found Juan. "How many species do you have documented now?" he asked. 23 confirmed as safe and nutritious. Another 12 that show promise but need more testing. Tay nodded slowly. He looked at the people eating and talking, more animated than he had seen them in years. "This could work," he said. "This could really work. We could stop buying food from the supply ships, grow our own, save millions of credits." "That is the idea," Juan said. "But we need more. 23 species is good, but we need complete nutrition. We need to make sure we can feed everyone, not just supplement our diet." "I will find more," Juan promised. "Give me another 3 months. I think I can double the catalog." Tay smiled, a rare expression on his serious face. "Then get back to work, Dr. Juan. You might be saving this colony." That night, Juan sat in her lab reviewing her notes. Gina was still in the kitchen, experimenting with new recipes. Kang had already agreed to take her on another expedition next week. She thought about all the planets humans had colonized. How many were dismissed as dead or worthless? How many had food that nobody bothered to find? How many colonies struggled? Like this one, depending on expensive imports when the solution grew right outside their walls. Juan pulled up a blank document on her tablet. At the top, she typed 2 words. Then she smiled and started writing. The 2 words were simple but powerful. Recipe book. 6 months after Juan arrived on Kepler 442c, she sat in her lab and looked at the final number. 47. 47 confirmed edible species. Each one tested, documented, and safe for human consumption. The catalog included everything a colony needed: proteins from fungi, seeds, and meat, carbohydrates from tubers and grains, fats from nuts and oils, vitamins and minerals from various plants. The planet was not dead. It was a garden. Humans just needed to learn how to read it. Gina worked at the counter beside her, writing recipes. She had developed cooking methods for each species. Some were simple. Others were complex, requiring specific temperatures and timing. But all of them worked. "We should publish this," Gina said. "Make it official. Not just notes in a lab, but a real cookbook." Juan looked at her. The idea was good. Better than good. A cookbook would make the information accessible to everyone. Not just scientists, but ordinary people, families, farmers, anyone who wanted to feed themselves. "Yes," Juan said. "Let us do it." They worked for 2 weeks straight. Juan wrote the scientific information for each species: Latin names, chemical composition, nutritional data, where to find them, how to identify them safely. Gina wrote the recipes: how to prepare each ingredient, what temperatures to use, what flavors work together. Even pictures of the finished dishes. Kang contributed sections on hunting and gathering. Which animals were safe to hunt? What seasons were best for harvesting? How to track game through the wilderness. Practical knowledge earned over 30 years of survival. They called it the Kepler 442c Survival Cookbook. The title was practical, not fancy. It told readers exactly what the book was for. Surviving and thriving on a planet everyone said was dead. Tay helped them publish it through the Colony Network. Every household received a digital copy. They also printed 200 physical copies for people who preferred books they could touch. The response was immediate. Families started growing native plants in their gardens. The crystal plants that everyone thought were just decorative rocks turned out to be easy to cultivate. They grew fast and needed little water. Within weeks, every garden plot in the colony had them. Hunters went into the wilderness with Kang, learning to track the large grazing animals. They brought back fresh meat, something the colony had not tasted in years. It was better than the frozen imported meat. Richer, more flavorful. The underground fungi became especially popular. They grew in dark spaces, which meant people could farm them in their basements and storage rooms. No sunlight needed. Within a month, half the colony was growing their own mushrooms. Gina saw an opportunity. She quit her job at the colony kitchen and opened her own restaurant. The first real restaurant on Kepler 442c. She called it the Native Table. Everything on the menu came from local ingredients. Nothing imported. Nothing processed. People loved it. They made reservations weeks in advance. They brought friends and family to taste food made from the planet they lived on, food that was fresh and real, not frozen and shipped across space. The colony's food imports dropped by 70%. Tay watched the numbers with satisfaction. They were saving millions of credits, money that could go to other things: better housing, new equipment, education, research. Then the requests started coming from other colonies. First just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Other struggling settlements wanted copies of the cookbook. They wanted to know if their planets might have food too. Juan shared everything freely. She sent her research methods, her testing protocols, her entire catalog. She answered questions from scientists on other worlds. She encouraged them to look at their own ecosystems with fresh eyes. That was when Director Yun arrived. Juan first heard about her from Tay. He came to the lab looking worried. The Galactic Food Consortium sent someone, he said. "A director. She wants to meet with you." The consortium controlled food distribution across human space. They supplied hundreds of colonies with imported food. They were powerful, rich, and they did not like disruption. "What does she want?" Juan asked, though she could guess. "To talk." That is what she said. "Just talk." Director Yun was a woman in her 50s, dressed in an expensive suit that looked out of place on the rough colony. She had the confident air of someone used to being obeyed. They met in Tai's office. Yun sat across from Juan and studied her with cold eyes. "Dr. Juan," Yun said, "I have been reading your cookbook. Quite impressive work." "Thank you," Juan said carefully. "Also quite reckless. You have encouraged thousands of people to eat unregulated food that has not been properly tested or approved." "I tested everything extensively," Juan said. "The data is all in the cookbook. Your data. Your tests. Not independent verification. Not proper safety protocols." Yun leaned forward. Do you understand what happens if someone gets sick? If someone dies, the lawsuits alone would destroy this colony. No one has gotten sick, Juan said. Hundreds of people have been eating this food for months. Everyone is fine. Better than fine, so far, Yun said. But you are playing with things you do not understand. Alien biochemistry is complex. Long-term effects take years to appear. Juan felt anger rising in her chest. She kept her voice calm. What I understand is that this colony was spending 90% of its budget on food. Now they are growing their own. They are healthier and happier. That seems like success to me. Yoon's expression hardened. The consortium provides food to 400 colonies. We feed 20 million people. Our supply chain is what keeps humanity alive in space. What you are doing threatens that system. Your system keeps people dependent, Juan shot back. Dependent and poor. You charge enormous prices because you can, because you have a monopoly. We charge what it costs to ship food across space, Yoon said coldly, plus a reasonable profit. That is how business works. Not anymore. Not here, Yoon stood up. She pulled a document from her bag and placed it on the desk. This is a cease and desist order, she said. Official notice that your cookbook violates food safety regulations. Distribution must stop immediately. All copies must be destroyed. Juan stared at the document. Tay picked it up and read it, his face going pale. You cannot do this, Juan said. I can and I am, Yoon said. For the safety of the public. You have 1 week to comply. If you do not, we will take legal action. The consortium has lawyers on every colony world. We will shut you down. She walked to the door, then paused and looked back. I am not the villain here, Dr. Juan. I am trying to protect people. What you are doing is dangerous. Someone will get hurt, and when they do, it will be on your conscience. Then she left. Juan and Tai sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Tay spoke. What do we do? He asked. Juan thought about the families growing food in their gardens, the hunters bringing home fresh meat, Gina's restaurant full of happy people, the cookbook spreading to other colonies, giving them hope. She thought about all of it and made her decision. We fight, she said. The consortium moved fast. Within 3 days, news reports started appearing on every colony channel. Stories about people getting sick from eating native foods, medical experts warning about long-term health risks, scientists questioning Juan's research methods. Juan watched the reports in her lab, her anger growing. The sick people they showed were not from Kepler 4I42c. They were from other colonies eating completely different foods. The experts they interviewed had never studied alien biochemistry. The scientists criticizing her had never read her actual research. It was all lies. Careful lies, but lies nonetheless. They are good at this, Tay said. He stood beside her, watching the same reports. They have been protecting their business for decades. They know how to fight. So do I, Juan said. She started recording response videos. She showed her data, her methods, her test results. She interviewed colonists who had been eating the food for months with no problems. She brought in Gina to cook on camera, showing exactly how to prepare each species safely. But the consortium had more reach. Their messages appeared on major networks. Juan's responses only reached colony channels and small independent sites. She was fighting a giant with a slingshot. Then things got worse. Director Yoon came back to the colony. This time she brought corporate lawyers and government officials. They shut down Gina's restaurant, citing health code violations. They confiscated the physical cookbooks from the colony library. They threatened to revoke Juan's scientific license. The colonial government, pressured from above, ordered Tai to stop all native food cultivation. No more gardens, no more hunting. Return to imported food only. Tay called a colony meeting. 3,000 people crammed into the main hall. The atmosphere was tense, angry, scared. I have been ordered to shut down the local food program, Tay announced. The consortium says it is unsafe. The government agrees. The crowd erupted. People shouted. Some demanded compliance with the order. Others refused to give up their gardens. Arguments broke out. The colony was dividing. An older woman stood up. Juan recognized her. She lived 3 doors down and grew crystal plants in her garden. I have been eating this food for 4 months, the woman said loudly. So has my husband. So have my children. None of us have gotten sick. We feel healthier than we have in years. And it is free. We do not pay anything. We grow it ourselves, others echoed her. A young father talked about how he could finally feed his family without going into debt. A farmer showed pictures of his thriving native crop garden. A hunter described how he provided meat for 20 families from his weekly hunts. But some disagreed. They worried about the consortium's threats. What if the supply ships stopped coming entirely? What if the government cut off other services? Could the colony really survive on local food alone? The meeting lasted 4 hours. No consensus was reached. The colony remained split. That night, Juan could not sleep. She lay in her quarters thinking about everything. She had come here to study an ecosystem. Instead, she had started a war. Was it worth it? Was she right to push so hard? A knock came at her door. She opened it to find Gina standing there, tears on her face. They took everything, Gina said. All my equipment. My supplies. They say I can never open another restaurant here. They ruined me. Juan pulled her inside. They sat together in the dark. I am sorry, Juan said. This is my fault. No, Gina said fiercely. You gave me a chance to cook real food, to create something beautiful. The consortium took that away, not you. The next day, Director Yoon made Juan an offer. They met privately, just the two of them. The consortium wants to buy your research, Yoon said. All of it. We will pay you 5 million credits, more money than you will ever need. Juan knew what that meant. Buy the research and bury it. Make sure no one else ever saw it. Keep the colonies dependent. No, she said simply. Yoon's expression turned cold. Then we will destroy you. Your license will be revoked. Your reputation will be ruined. No institution will ever hire you again. You will spend the rest of your life fighting lawsuits. Do what you have to do, Juan said. I will not help you keep people hungry. Yoon stood to leave. At the door she paused. You think you are a hero, she said, but you are just naive. The consortium feeds billions of people. Our system works. You are going to cause more harm than good. People will die because of your arrogance. People are already dying, Juan shot back. Dying poor, dying hungry, dying dependent. Your system keeps them that way. At least I'm giving them a choice. After Yoon left, Juan sat alone in the empty office. She felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. The colony divided. Gina's restaurant destroyed. The consortium's threats. The government pressure she could give up. Sell the research. Take the money. Go back to Earth and live comfortably. No one would blame her. She had tried. That was enough, was it not? Then she remembered the woman at the meeting. The one who said her family felt healthier. The young father who could finally feed his children. The farmer with his thriving garden. She thought about all the other colonies out there. Hundreds of them. All struggling. All dependent. All believing their worlds were dead when maybe, just maybe, they were not. Juan pulled out her communication tablet. She opened a new message. She addressed it to every independent news network, every scientific journal, every colony bulletin board she could find. Then she attached something. The complete cookbook. All 47 species, all the research data, all the testing protocols, everything. She made it open source, free to download, free to share, free to use. She wrote a simple message. This information belongs to everyone. No company should control whether people can feed themselves. Share this, use this. Find food on your own worlds. Be free. She hovered her finger over the send button. Once she pressed it, there was no going back. The consortium would come after her with everything they had. Her life would never be the same. Juan pressed send. The message went out to thousands of destinations. Within minutes, people started downloading the cookbook. Within an hour, it had spread to dozens of colonies. Within a day, hundreds of thousands of people had copies. The consortium tried to stop it. They sent cease and desist orders to every network. They threatened legal action. They used every tool they had. But information once freed cannot be caged again. Tay found Juan in her lab the next morning. She had not slept. She was watching the download numbers climb. You did it, he said softly. You really did it. I started it, Juan corrected. But it is bigger than me now. It belongs to everyone. The consortium is going to destroy you for this. Let them try, Juan said. She was smiling. For the first time in days, she felt light, free. The food is out there now, on hundreds of worlds, growing in gardens, feeding families. They cannot stop that. No one can. The first reports came from a colony called New Brisbane. A scientist there had read Juan's cookbook and tested her methods on the local ecosystem. Within 2 weeks, she identified 8 edible species. She sent Juan a thank you message and pictures of her family eating bread made from native grain. Then came reports from Paradise Station, from New Terra, from dozens of other colonies. Scientists, farmers, and ordinary people were testing their own worlds, finding their own food, following Juan's methods and making them work. Within a month, 17 colonies reported success. They had found enough edible species to reduce their food imports by half or more. Some were already completely self-sufficient. The movement spread faster than anyone expected. People called it the Food Freedom Initiative. They shared recipes online. They posted videos of their gardens growing native crops. They celebrated their independence from the consortium. Gina became an unexpected celebrity. She started recording cooking shows from Juan's lab, demonstrating recipes using the native foods. Her warm personality and obvious skill made the shows popular. Millions of people across human space watched her turn strange alien plants into delicious meals. "This is what freedom tastes like," Gina said in one episode, holding up a plate of roasted crystal plant stalks. "Food you grew yourself. Food that did not cost you half your salary. Food that makes you independent." The videos went viral. Gina received thousands of messages. People thanked her. They shared their own cooking experiments. They asked questions and she answered them, building a community of cooks who were reinventing human cuisine with alien ingredients. Kang contributed too. He made videos about hunting and gathering techniques that worked on multiple types of worlds. How to track animals, how to identify dangerous species, how to harvest plants sustainably so they would grow back next season. His rough, practical style appealed to colonists who did the hard work of survival every day. He did not make things sound easy. He showed the reality, the difficulty, the danger, but also the reward, the satisfaction of providing for yourself and your family. The Galactic Food Consortium fought back desperately. They lowered their prices, trying to make imported food competitive again. They launched advertising campaigns warning about the dangers of native foods. They lobbied governments to pass laws restricting local food production, but it was too late. The information was out there. The proof was everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of people were eating native foods and thriving. The consortium's warnings sounded hollow against that reality. The consortium's stock price began to fall. Investors worried about the future of a company that was losing customers by the thousands. Colony governments, seeing their people become self-sufficient, started questioning why they had ever given the consortium so much power. Director Yoon tried one last legal assault. She filed a massive lawsuit against Juan, claiming the cookbook had caused health problems on multiple worlds. She demanded billions in damages, but independent scientists rallied to Juan's defense. Doctors from across human space reviewed her research and declared it sound. Medical records showed that colonists eating native foods were actually healthier than before. The lawsuit fell apart. More than that, the lawsuit backfired. It drew even more attention to Juan's work. News networks that had ignored the story before suddenly wanted interviews. Juan appeared on major broadcasts, calmly explaining her research and showing her data. She was not a great public speaker. She was too direct, too focused on facts, but that honesty resonated with people. She was not trying to sell anything. She was just a scientist who had found something important and wanted to share it. Public opinion shifted completely. The consortium went from being seen as a necessary service to being viewed as a greedy monopoly. People questioned how they had accepted paying so much for basic food for so long. Anger grew. On Kepler 442c, Tay made a historic decision. He called another colony meeting, but this time the mood was different. United, determined. "I have received orders from the colonial government," Tay announced. "They want us to comply with the consortium demands. Stop growing native food. Resume full import contracts," the crowd murmured. Everyone knew what came next. "I am refusing those orders," Tay said. "Kepler 442c is declaring food independence. We will not be bound by mandatory consortium contracts. We will grow our own food, make our own choices, and be truly free." The crowd erupted in cheers. People stood and applauded. Some cried. It was the first time any colony had openly defied the consortium, and the government backing it. Other colonies followed. Within 6 months, 27 colonies had declared food independence. They formed a coalition, sharing resources and information. They supported each other against political pressure. The movement became about more than just food. It was about self-determination, about colonies having the right to govern themselves without being controlled by distant corporations and governments, about people taking power back. Juan watched it all with a mixture of pride and disbelief. She had just wanted to study an ecosystem. She never imagined starting a revolution. One evening, she sat with Gina and Kang in the lab. They were developing new recipes for the expanded cookbook. Version 2 now included data from 30 different colony worlds, with hundreds of edible species documented. "Do you think it will last?" Gina asked. "The independence, I mean. Or will they find a way to stop us?" "They cannot stop information," Juan said. "That is the beautiful thing. Once people know they can feed themselves, once they have tasted that freedom, they will never go back. Besides," Kang added with a rare smile, "people who know how to hunt and farm are harder to control. We are not dependent anymore. That changes everything." A message came through on Juan's tablet. She read it and laughed. "What is it?" Gina asked. "An invitation from the Colonial Science Council. They want me to lead a new research initiative, teaching scientists across human space how to study their local ecosystems for food sources. Will you do it?" Kang asked. Juan thought about it. She could stay here on Kepler 442c comfortable and safe, or she could take the fight further, help more colonies, find more food, free more people. "Yes," she said, "but only if you two come with me. Gina, we need someone to make the food delicious. Kang, we need someone to teach practical survival. We are a team," Gina grinned. Kang nodded slowly. "A team," Gina said. "I like that. Where do we start?" Juan pulled up a star map on her screen. Hundreds of colony worlds dotted the display, each one a potential garden waiting to be discovered. "Everywhere," she said. "We start everywhere." The consortium was not defeated. Not entirely. They still controlled much of the food supply across human space, but their monopoly was broken. They had competition now, not from another company, but from the planets themselves, from people who learned they could provide for themselves. Director Yun knew she had lost. She sat in her office on Earth, reading reports about declining sales and angry shareholders. She thought about the woman who had caused all this. One scientist with one cookbook part of Yun was angry, but another part, a small part she barely admitted to herself, was impressed. Juan had been right. People deserved the chance to feed themselves. The consortium system had become corrupt, using necessity to control people. Maybe it was time for something new, something better. The consortium would have to adapt or die. Either way, the galaxy had changed. On Kepler 442c, the colony celebrated the Harvest Festival. Gardens throughout the settlement overflowed with native crops. Hunters brought in fresh meat. Gina's restaurant, reopened and thriving, served a feast to hundreds of people. Tai stood on a platform and raised a glass. "To Dr. Juan," he said, "who taught us that dead worlds are only dead if we believe they are, who showed us that we can feed ourselves, who gave us our freedom back." The crowd cheered. Juan, standing in the back, felt her face go red. She was not comfortable being celebrated. She was just a scientist who had done her job. But looking around at the happy faces, the full plates, the thriving community, she allowed herself to feel proud. She had made a difference, maybe the biggest difference of her life, and this was only the beginning. There were hundreds of other worlds out there, hundreds of other supposedly dead planets, hundreds of other gardens waiting to be discovered. She had work to do, a lot of work, and she could not wait to start.